everyone. Good evening. I'm Shreya Dhoundiyal. It is good to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, as the IndiGo Kiosk enters day 10 and the airline once again issues a non-apology, India's Aviation Minister has dropped a bombshell. In an exclusive interview with Navika Kumar, he has admitted to what the entire country has suspected for a week now, that the chaos, and I'm quoting the Aviation Minister, looks kind of intentional. The Aviation Minister says in this interview that his ministry is probing if IndiGo deliberately orchestrated the chaos to circumvent the new rules that mandated more rest for pilots. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no two ways about it. This is as big as it gets. The Aviation Ministry that fell for IndiGo's blackmail and pushed the rules for India's largest airline now suspects that IndiGo could have conspired against them. Ram Mohan Naidu has told Times Now that not just is he mulling criminal liability against the airline, but also looking at how passengers can be compensated by the airline. Listen in.
The reason it is unforgivable is because it was deliberate.
Yes.
The reason do you believe this was deliberately done by IndiGo? Are you convinced?
There seems to be some kind of intentional this thing. Let me come to that point, because the way they have been operating, the way they have control over their operations, this shouldn't have happened. Let me straight away place the fact that this is an incident which shouldn't have happened at all.
And then it was done intentionally.
Why has it come at that specific point of time? And how did it lead us into that situation? So this is something which we are thoroughly investigating. I want an in-depth review to be done, and that is what we are doing right now. And it will be followed by very strict and appropriate enforcement action.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the minister says the chaos seems intentional. He's being cautious here. Point is, the chaos was the conspiracy, and it really doesn't need a Sherlock Holmes to figure that out. Come to think of it, how is it that an airline that has operated for 20 years with the tagline "on time, every time" mess up all of a sudden? After all, IndiGo, like the rest of the airlines, had 2 years to hire more pilots and prepare for the new rules. Why did they not do so? They had a court-mandated deadline of November 1st. They knew that, and yet they didn't prepare for it. They had a reminder from Parliament as well. The Parliamentary Committee on Aviation, in fact, had told the government, don't let any airlines circumvent these new rules. Yet, IndiGo didn't prepare. They assured compliance, yet they didn't prepare. They knew they weren't ready, ladies and gentlemen, yet they allowed bookings. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew they could create havoc and blackmail the government, and this is exactly what they did. And as they did that, the DGCA and the government simply looked away till citizens in this country stood up to be counted. Today, as the minister in his interview talked tough on IndiGo, he found it hard to explain the DGCA's spectacular failure. Just by the way, the DGCA is the regulator of Indian skies and reports directly to the Aviation Ministry. By the end of it, the minister had little choice but to apologize.
Ram Mohan Naidu, I also want to ask you about the DGCA. Staffing is one part of the problem. There are experts and NGOs that are in court who have come and said that IndiGo actually runs the DGCA. They are the one who make the CARs. The entire DGCA is short-staffed, I don't know, short-staffed or compromised. I don't know, it's a matter of investigation for you. But this is what people who are experts in the field are saying about the DGCA. Some have even said, DG खुद बहुत अच्छे हैं, लेकिन उनके नीचे सब corrupt हैं. And he's trying to grapple. Are you aware of this situation?
No, we are trying to look into the DGCA also. And when the investigation is there, we are going to look into DGCA also.
Is there a separate committee that is looking into DGCA?
No, this will give us the picture about the DGCA also. And definitely we are going to separately look into that. And all the things which have come out, these all will be explored. These all will be thoroughly inquired. And we need to give more strength to DGCA, as what I've been saying from the beginning itself. We need to have the right people within the system. And any allegation that has come,
Is DGCA
any allegation,
according to your preliminary reports?
Not yet. Not yet.
So you're saying nothing wrong with the DGCA?
Not yet, nothing. And we are going to explore if there is an outlay of this situation coming into the DGCA, also something into the foray of DGCA where someone might have been compromised, and that will lead to very strict action in the DGCA also.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, with fingers pointing at the government for being soft on IndiGo, the Aviation Ministry today went in for some tough action and took away 5% flight from IndiGo's kitty for the winter season and has given it off to other airlines. 5% more flights could fly out of their kitty if they don't fix things. On their part, IndiGo is saying they are back on their feet and have, well, once again apologized. Back on their feet, ladies and gentlemen, still means that till now 422 flights have been cancelled today. Listen in to the IndiGo CEO.
IndiGo is back on its feet and our operations are stable. We've let you down when a major operational disruption happened, and we're sorry for that. Thousands of you could not travel, and we are profusely apologetic about that.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you can well imagine, the apology simply isn't cutting it, because we have flyers who have missed their parents' funerals or their children's birthdays or their own wedding receptions. As one of the flyers said, take your non-apology and go burn it. Now, the question is, ladies and gentlemen, how will the government of India that thinks that this chaos could be intentional make IndiGo pay for taking it and the people of India for a royal ride? Will criminal liability be fixed on IndiGo? That is the question this evening. But before I go to my guests, this is breaking news coming in. I believe that the IndiGo CEO has once again been summoned by the Ministry of Civil Aviation. He was today called to the ministry headquarters, where Ram Mohan Naidu, who you just heard, and the Ministry of Civil Aviation Secretary Sameer Sinha held a meeting with him. What was discussed? Well, essentially the things the government should have discussed, not this month, but last month itself: passenger care, the refund status, crew roster status, baggage return, etc. Essentially asking IndiGo for a status report. This is coming as the government itself is under heavy fire. Captain Amit Singh, welcoming you to the show. Thank you very much for joining us. He's an aviation expert, also founder of Safety Matters Foundation. Thank you very much. Jitendra Bhargav is a former ED at Air India, joining us on the broadcast. Good evening to you, Jitendra ji. Good to see you on the show. Dr. Saeed Hafiz, a spokesperson of the DMK. The BJP and the TDP, as expected, have decided not to send spokespersons on any shows that have anything to do with IndiGo. And we understand why, which is why JVC Sriram is smiling, because it is his rather tough job to defend the government today. I don't know how he will do that. Nahi, acha, you're saying no. Okay, JVC, we'll see. We'll see. We know where your heart lies. And Dr. Sumit Suselan, ACC member, has no choice but to defend the government and the DGCA, because he is a member of the Ministry of Civil Aviation, chairperson of Divine Air. So he has no choice today. I don't know how you will do this, but thank you very much. Jitendra Bhargav, I'm going to come to you first as someone who is a veteran of the civil aviation sector in this country. Baki sari baatein baad mein karenge, but the fact is today the government of India is almost admitting, I won't say 100%, but almost admitting that the chaos looks intentional. Looks intentional kya? It is intentional. All of us can see it is intentional. Do you see it that way?
No, you see what the minister has said. If you look at from the first day, the circumstantial evidence was leading toward what the minister has said today. IndiGo had adequate time. They were told about the revised FDTL. They knew what the enhanced requirement of pilot would be. And when you do not deliberately recruit pilots and leave the airline industry to chaos, what would you come to? You will conclude the way the minister has, number one. Number two, when we look at it, the IndiGo's thing, 19 years of performance in a professional manner, profitable airline, growth, sustained growth, all those kind of things. difficult to believe. But when you look at the facts as they exist, you have no option but to say, did they really go for a harakiri? Did they really create a chaotic situation? But to surmise that if they created a crisis of this kind, they will be able to force DGCA into rolling back FDTL. I wouldn't agree on that. There was no way that the government of India, after the court's intervention, could have withdrawn, relaxed the condition. Of course, they've done it. In the case till 10th February, given the leeway to IndiGo to primarily bring the airline to some stability. But to switch the government of India or DGCA will roll back FDTL, it's an impossibility. So anybody thinking within IndiGo that we will be able to achieve it, they have ruined themselves. Their reputation is Oversight.
Okay,
and people
but
need
Captain
to be
Amit Singh,
criminally taken to task.
Then what has IndiGo achieved? IndiGo has achieved its short-term goal, no?
No, but that short-term is nothing. Let me explain to you. But the price they have paid so far, in terms of their reputation being ruined, will be manifold.
Captain Amit Singh, come in here. Do you believe what Jitendra Bhargav is saying, that you're putting too much blame on, on IndiGo's intelligence to orchestrate this? The price they've had to pay is far greater than the 20% pilots that they would have had to hire more.
5-7%, not 20%. It's if you look up the the difference between the pre and the post.
Like I say, this is a kind of a regulatory takeover. So it is not just FTTL. There are more issues which are there, which have not come to fore. So if you look at in totality, there are issues like the new multi-crew pilot license, which IndiGo is pushing for, which for which a lot of training will shift from the flying schools to the simulators.
Okay.
Right. So that is one issue which IndiGo was pushing for. And a committee was formed and IndiGo was spearheading that issue. Second was this FTTL. They wanted that extension, exemption, whatever. And since it was a high court order, they knew that they could not push for it too much beyond a certain point. So in September, they represented and the DGCA issued a circular for a new kind of a FTTL system, which is called a fatigue risk management system. But what they did was they issued it through a circular. It has to be that is a huge process wherein DGCA has to be trained and a lot of work has to be done, data-driven thing. But they wanted a shortcut through a circular, which was opposed by the pilot bodies. And they were heavily dependent that this FRMS will come through by December. DGCA said implementation date is December. That didn't happen at the last minute. But they had pilots. They had pilots, but they did not have ready pilots to fly. They had management pilots. How many leaves have been cancelled, we don't know. Because in any industry, if you do not have sufficient manpower, first you resort to cancelling leaves and taking away other privileges so that manpower is available. What was done here? Nothing. So one, they were kind of stuck. Second, they wanted to show the power because they thought that they had virtually taken over.
But they had virtually taken over. Given how things have played out, can I just get in Dr. Sumit here? Given the way things have played out, it almost seems like IndiGo is the one that runs DGCA.
No, IndiGo might be thinking about this thing because they have 65% stake and they thought they will be able to blackmail the government.
But they were able to blackmail you.
So we wanted to streamline things. That's the reason we had taken back the notification which is given by DGCA. If we might stuck with the same policy, this might have not taken off for months. And it was in the parliament and we wanted to sort out the thing in a given time. That's why the extension had given us. But we have to understand the government, the ministers, we are working for the public, not for the airline. We are the policy makers. We make policies to keep us...
But Dr. Sumit, I'm not sure who you're making policies for. You're supposed to be a regulator, right? DGCA is supposed to be a regulator. What does a regulator do? Does it step in only when a crisis is brewing and passengers have been left high and dry? Or does it step in when it sees that an airline is heading towards a crisis? Did you not see for the last 2 years that IndiGo was not preparing for what is to come on November 1st? Did you not hear what the parliamentary panel said in August this year? Did you not see that for the last 2 years, the board of IndiGo, the report that comes out after the board meetings, not in 2 years, not one mention of the new rules and how they are going to be implemented?
So a regular meeting was going on regularly.
अरे सर सरकार में यही तो होता है, रेगुलर मीटिंग ही होती है, काम कुछ नहीं होता है.
Even the officials from IndiGo giving the reports to us, and everything was smooth. We don't know the last minute hiccups. How?
So yani they were lying to you. Then IndiGo was lying to you, Dr. Sumit. Do you agree? They said we will comply. We will comply.
Yes,
we are doing what we can to comply. Then they lied to you, right?
Because of IndiGo, you can see in every other airlines, like take an example of Air India, SpiceJet, Flight 91. Everywhere had went with the policy. Everything operation was smooth. Only the one company, right, IndiGo, came up with this problem.
No, they lied to you and that you didn't know, and the DGCA, that is the regulator. That is the super cop, didn't know that they were lying to you, that they weren't hiring enough pilots, that they were not preparing for what is to come.
Understand, there was some silent protest inside the company. Most of the pilots had went for sick leave last moment. How come? Normally it doesn't happen. So now at the last moment when the bulk people had gone for a sick leave, they had because there's no enough pilot. That's why they
canceled. ये तो नया angle आया, Captain Amit Singh, of sick leave.
Yeah, nobody said, not even IndiGo is saying sick leave.
I'm hearing it for the first time.
So basically, that's what happened in the winters. We know there are sick leaves going on.
I will tell you how the root cause analysis is done. IndiGo in the show cause notice has said that it is very difficult to do a root cause analysis. Root cause analysis is done in 5 stages. You ask yourself 5 times why it happened, and the 5th will be a root cause. So why did the problem happen? Because IndiGo had shortage of pilots. Second, why did they have shortage of pilots? Because the FETL was not envisaged. Why not? Because they were very confident that DGCA would give an extension. So ultimately it comes to that the root cause is that there was a collusion, or they were very confident that DGCA would give in. So that
collusion to
hai. That is the root cause analysis. Simple.
The minister has made a valiant defense of the DGCA. He has told us that it has been operating at 50% of its strength. He found it difficult to answer questions on how the DGCA is known to be corrupt. Now he's saying, I will order a probe. He's been minister for some time. It's only when a situation like this happens, will you say ki we will probe IndiGo, we will probe DGCA. Arey bhai, had you probed them 6 months ago or 1 year ago, this crisis would not have happened and passengers in this country would not have had to pay. Dr. Saeed Hafiz, do you believe that the government of India, and by that I mean the Civil Aviation Ministry, is equally to blame, because they have been sleeping not just for the last, say, 10 days, they have actually been sleeping for the last 1 month, 10 days. The fact is, these flight cancellations that IndiGo has been doing, they've come to its head, all right, in the first week of December. But the flight cancellations were happening in large numbers in November as well. I think some 700 flights had to be cancelled in November itself because of these new rules.
See, the start of the problem is well explained in your show by the fact that they don't want to take the credibility and accountability. The spokespersons of the BJP are not here to talk to the people. When it comes to bashing, polarizing issues, sometimes 2 spokespersons sit and talk. And at a point where the country is facing crisis, they don't want to answer to the people. This is the reason, this is the start of the problem. There is a government which is not accountable, and that government is taken to task by an irresponsible institution which feels it can manage, manipulate, and try to flex its muscle to the government, because there is no accountability on the part of the government. I will tell you with responsibility, because in Udan scheme, this sector was always having a problem. It has just come out now. You bring in a scheme, you give subsidies. By giving a subsidy, you mandated that you have to fly irrespective of the loss you face. Despite that, 128 routes out of 900 routes in the Udan scheme, they don't fly the mandatory period, and the government does not take action. These are the examples that the other airlines take. We will not follow the norms. We will take up the subsidy, will happily sit. We will not fly the mandatory years, but the government will not take action.
The airlines are hosting it. They are opting for these routes. So I don't agree that Udan routes are failure in any way, because airlines are giving and we have a shortage of aircraft because in this aircraft, long haul
That
aircraft.
is not my problem. That is not my problem. The government has paid you to fly. Before opting it, why did you say that you're having a shortage of aircraft? Why do you apply for a subsidy? Why do you take up the route?
Okay.
So
JVC.
If they're not operating, it's their decision.
Okay, gentlemen, let me just get in JVC here because he's what they called a bhogi. He, I think, was trying to take a flight to IndiGo, which was delayed or cancelled. I don't know what, JVC. You can tell us exactly what. And please tell me how you will defend the government and say the government...
Shreya, good evening. Good evening, Shreya.
Good evening,
Shreya. I've come here more as a victim, okay? Because my flight was supposed to be taking off on Thursday and it took off early Friday. My baggage landed just yesterday night when I had to fly back to Hyderabad. I had seen the torture that the people had faced in the airports at Chennai and Hyderabad. And in the early morning hours, how I was made to stand in the IndiGo airport, IndiGo counter without my baggage, and how I struggled is a story. Now, on that morning, when the FDTL was rolled back for a temporary period on February 10th, till February 10th, I had vehemently, when every other influencer in this X or whatever you call, were saying government has kneeled down, government has bent, I said, you got to listen. Government is there for people. If these rules had not been pushed till February 10th, people would have been in panic again. Because we had to get it started. Because when a patient is in an extremely critical condition, you don't look at rehabilitation. You look at emergency treatment, let him come back to normal. At the same time, I had also mentioned there should be a probe. The probe should be on DGCA. The probe should be on IndiGo Airlines. Because IndiGo had the people's trust, 68% market share. And they were literally controlling the air. And as a result of which government must probe and they must punish. I'm very clear. But government did not kneel down. If you're asking, if you're saying that I'm defending the government, it's not. I'm saying what I've seen. If they had not been rolled back, even yesterday evening, I had to fly back. I fly on a weekly basis, Shreya. Not trying to boast out here. But the point is, I have seen. And also, for those of them who are talking about government has failed this, failed that, now we have seen how during UPA regime, one after another, Air India, what happened, we know. We know what happened, Jet Airways. We know what happened to Kingfisher. Today, the number of people who fly in India is far, far higher than what it was 15 years back. This government, exactly, I agree, DGCA has failed in its duties. Certain people should have done what they should have done. It is a mistake. But I'm 100% sanguine that the government would take action. The probe, and what we can demand right now is we can ask for a transparent probe.
No, we will ask for criminal liability. Because, you know, you are saying the government didn't kneel. Very good. You are, of course, everyone in this country is entitled to a point of view. You are saying the government is here for the people of this country. What was the government doing in November? Were they not seeing 700 plus flights being cancelled by IndiGo? If they were for the people of this country, they would have kept their eyes and ears open. That is the job of the Civil Aviation Ministry, sir.
That's why I said, because when I booked the flight, I saw the prices skyrocketing like mad. I didn't know what was happening. And there were friends of mine who had 3 tickets on their hand from Pune to Chennai. 3 tickets on their hand they had. And we had people like that. But what I'm trying to say is, on that day, you are not supposed to have probably criticized the government and made them say they're bending down to IndiGo. They're not bending down to IndiGo. Yes, what happened in November? Why it was not implemented? That a probe is required. Heads must roll. If the CEO of IndiGo Airlines should be arrested, so be it.
We'll see about that. Because if this turns out to be a criminal conspiracy, that is exactly what will happen. Yes, Mr. Bhargav, I'm just coming to you. Is this a fit case for criminal liability to be fixed? Now, the government is saying, hum apna investigation karenge, deep probe, etc. But it seems like it was intentional. This is what the minister has said.
To me, it's an open and shut case. When you have a certain shortage of pilots, what does an airline do? They try and match the flight schedule with the number of pilots available for a particular day or week. Now, they should have voluntarily cancelled those number of flights that had to be impacted. First point. If they had done so, chaos could have been avoided. They could have accommodated passengers of a cancelled flight on their other flights, or other airlines should look at it. That's one point. Second point, when DGCA's role comes in very clearly, every year for the summer and winter schedule, 2 months before the winter schedule, IndiGo has submitted a proposal of the number of flights they would be operating in the winter schedule starting November 1. When they went there, they added flights to it, to the winter schedule, knowing fully well they don't have adequate number of pilots, keeping in view the revised FDTL norms. DGCA could have certainly asked them, you are conscious of the fact that the new regulations are coming on 1st November, you're adding flights, do you have adequate number of pilots? Of course, in retrospect, one can say DGCA ought to have asked this question. But that is what
it's their job.
Management all about.
Not in retrospect, but as part of their everyday duty, as part of their job, they should have asked those questions. Had the DGCA had the guts, Mr. Bhargav, had the DGCA had the guts to ask India's largest airline some tough questions 6 months ago, a year ago, this crisis would not have happened. Now see where the consumer stands. Where does the consumer stand amongst all of this? You have missed your father's funeral. 1 minute, Sunir. You have missed your child's birthday. You have missed even your own wedding reception.
Yeah.
Will you be compensated for it?
We need to find
India's aviation rules clearly say that you cannot be compensated even if your flight is delayed by 24 hours. And if it is cancelled, again, maximum you will get is some 10,000 rupees. So look at where the passenger stands. He can feel the pain, he can get angry, but will IndiGo have to pay? No, IndiGo will not have to pay. Because if IndiGo had to pay, it would have been conscious about exactly what it was doing and wouldn't have done what it did. It's as simple as that. They could do this dadagiri and this blackmail because they knew they could get away with it. Because they have 65% of India's market.
Kind of upheaval, but it extends on a much more bigger scale.
Yes.
In my opinion, IndiGo perhaps thought they'll be able to contain the damage within 24 hours after sending a big message to the government of India and DGCA. But the fact that it snowballed into a major crisis,
Mr. Bhargav, that is called blackmail.
That is why they have cut a very sorry figure.
Mr. Bhargav, that is called blackmail, which is why...
It's called blackmail. I'm again re-emphasizing, DGCA has to be looked into. You can't have an IAS bureaucrat to head DGCA by rotation every 2-3 years. You need a professional to head it.
Absolutely.
What
you need is a clean DGCA, a non-corrupt DGCA that is not sitting in the pockets of airlines. That is what you need. Anyway, we'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much. Mr. Bhargav, mera time khatam. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you very much. Captain Amit Singh, thank you. Hafiz, good to have you on the show. JVC Sriram and Dr. Sumit, thank you very much as well. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, a break. There's more on the other side. Do stay with us.